Hey guys, it's Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, and in today's video, we're going to do an in-depth review of the Yealink T48S touchscreen IP phone. Before we get into this review, big thanks to the boys and girls over at VoIP Supply for sending me over this phone for review. As always, below this video, I'll have some links where you can see purchase price, and you can also look at advanced and basic technical specifications on this phone, and also hit somebody up in the chat over at VoIP Supply if you need help or support in regards to questions about this phone or any other IP phones they have, or if you just want to talk to them about your setup and whether this phone will work out great for what you're trying to do or not. So anyways, without further ado, let's hop into this review and take a look at the Yealink T48S touchscreen IP phone. So the Yealink T48S is a touchscreen phone, and it is actually an older phone. But, I've had this phone for a while, for probably close to about a year, and I've been meaning to do a review on this bad boy for a while, but it's actually not too late, because even though this phone has been superseded by certain newer Yealink touchscreen phones like the T56A and some other phones in that family, this phone, unlike the T56A and a bunch of other phones, still has a lot of support with a lot of providers. So what do I mean by that? This phone essentially, while it does have newer touchscreen IP phones that have come out, the newer touchscreen IP phones still lack firmware support with a lot of the providers, meaning you can't use them yet. That will change as time progresses, and a lot of the major providers out there update their firmware and start supporting the phone. But this phone, the Yealink T48S, it is supported at the time of this video that we know of by Vonage, RingCentral. I've even got some Nextiva customers that use it, even though Nextiva boasts that they do not fully certify Yealink. There are some that will work, and I've got some clients using this one. On SIP, I've seen people use this phone and many other providers. This phone is well mature and well liked among touchscreen phones out there. In fact, at the time of this video in 2021, despite the fact that this phone has new successors, people still contact me looking for this phone either to purchase outright or looking for this phone to, they already have existing ones of these and they don't want to replace it, and they want to know what service providers we recommend that fit their needs and budget but have compatibility, or they're looking for both, a new service provider and these specific phones based on their research. This phone is not a free phone with any service provider. So for those of you who are watching and wondering, is this phone a free phone? Sorry, I hate to burst your bubble. You are definitely going to pay for this phone, but the price of it is actually not too bad. Coming in at retail, if you buy it outright through a third-party source or through a provider typically, at around about $200. But there are some providers out there like RingCentral where you can still get this phone, and they can sometimes get you rebates and discounts to drive that price further down, making it a pretty good bargain. The T48S has a beautiful 7-inch 800 by 480 pixel color touchscreen that's backlit. It's got 16-line capability, dual gigabit Ethernet ports, as you can see here. And it also supports PoE, for Power over Ethernet, which, as you can see here, I've got a Cat5 cable coming into here that is actually powering the phone. And as you can see, I don't have my DC 5-volt jack plugged in. So it is definitely Power over Ethernet capable for those of you who are wondering. It does have a USB port on the back, which is USB 2.0, that you can use for a USB compatible headset, or you can use it for an optional call recording storage device. And I've even seen some people use this phone and just use this USB port to power like a ring light or something like that, or to power like their cell phone or whatever that may be sitting on the desk next to the phone. As you can see here, and as you probably guessed, this phone is wall mountable. It's got two little spots here where you can actually pull this off, I believe. I would assume, but I'm not 100% sure, you guys, that connects to a wall mountable bracket, which you probably have to purchase, secondary. And, I could put a link to that as well. But my guess is that this is a cover for the wall mountable bracket, and then you actually would put that into there, and then that's how you would connect it to the wall. As you can see, the T48S is a bit wider in comparison to most phones. I think it's a beautiful, sleek design, but some people are really funny about desk space. So if you're somebody that you're just going for super duper, oh my God, minimal or something like that, the actual Yealink style of this series of Yealinks may not be your thing, but I've used the Yealink, and as you can see, I've got lots of desk space. So for me, it's not a huge big deal, but it does take up a bit of space. As always, Yealink has the really nice ergonomic key layout that most of you know and have seen, and they seem to keep this similar key layout across even their new phones that come out, the ones before this series and the ones after this series. So if you're somebody that, like me, doesn't like the round numeric buttons that tend to misfire and things like that, this I think you'll really like. It has Yealink's HD voice, so, no explanation is really needed there. HD voice and noise cancellation on the handset as well as on the speaker. There's one thing, you guys, that I really like about this phone. Little bit of a backstory. For those of you who may or may not know, I'm a huge Yealink snob, but regardless of phone, whether it's Yealink, Polycom, I've got tons of other phones of different brands in here, VTech, Snome, I've got some Fanville, I've got other stuff in here. I personally have never really liked touchscreen phones. Why? Because a lot of the older touchscreen phones, they tend to have slower processors and they misfire, or they have delays in the response between the time that you press something and the time that the actual screen responds. Not the case with the T48S, and I love it. I was actually really impressed with the response time on this phone. As you can see, when you touch things, it's very, very responsive. There's almost no delay, at least that you can't really tell. If there is a delay, it's in milliseconds. It's nothing that you can tell with the normal senses. But I was actually really impressed when I pulled this thing out of the box and played around with it. I was expecting your typical older touchscreen phones or touchscreen phones from brands that haven't really gotten it together. I was really expecting a very sluggish, very slow response time when doing things like using the menus and just pressing buttons and stuff like that. The other thing that's really nice that I noticed about the touchscreen, and I'll see if I can get it at an angle so you guys can see this, unlike how the bezel is here and how a lot of newer IP phones are, the touchscreen is not shiny, it's matte. I like that. I don't feel like after I've used it for a day, there's fingerprints all over it, and it's easy to clean off and whatnot. And also, if you work in an office that has a bit of sunlight in it like I do, because I got lots of windows in this office, I don't see the glare on the screen. While I can see the glare, as you can see on the bezel, you notice there's no glare on the screen. And I really like the fact that it has a matte finish. It looks good on the eyes, functions well in a very well lit office, or an office that may have sunlight or natural light coming in from outside, and it doesn't get dirty very easy. So I really dig that. So my final thoughts on this phone before we wrap this video up. It's got a great design and it's beautiful to look at. I mean, just plainly put, it's a sexy phone. And for those of you who may or may not have noticed, it actually shares the chassis and similar build and design to the legendary Yealink T46S, which is more or less very similar to this phone, except the Yealink T46S does not support touchscreen. So I guess you could say this is like the touchscreen big brother, or, older sister to the Yealink T46S. This phone is supported by most all major voice over IP service providers at the time of this video. It's still to this day, even though there's a bunch of other touchscreen phones out there, and Yealink has even released some newer touchscreen phones, this phone still is, at least for us, and we deal with hundreds of businesses that are looking for service and hardware to go with it, this phone still remains probably the #1 touchscreen phone that we know of. The only real cons that I could say about this phone, and it's cons depending on who you are and depending on what you're looking for, is this phone does have a very large footprint. I've actually had people that I've worked with that have called me up and said, "Hey, Prince, the phone you recommended, can you give me the size?" And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And they're like, "Can you give me the dimensions, the height, the width, the depth, all that. And when I ask them why, they say, you know, because our cubicles are really small in the office, or because I have a very small limited space in the home office. So for some people, that actually matters. If you're somebody who's looking for a phone where you need a very small phone in a very confined space, this may not be the one, because while it's not very deep, it is a very tall phone and it is a very long phone, as you can see there. The final and only other con that I can think of about this phone is that it does not natively support Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. It can support Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, but that is not possible without the use of a Yealink or generic compatible dongle that gives it the external ability to support Bluetooth or to connect to like a Bluetooth headset, or support Wi-Fi to connect to your network via like your wireless network versus through a Cat5 cable or something like that. So if you're looking for less wires or you're an extreme minimalist, you may want to look at some of Yealink's newer touchscreen phones, which we do have here in this office, and we're going to review those in a future video, because Yealink's newer phones that supersede the T48S and the series in the T40 series, they all mostly support Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built in without the use of any adapters. So that concludes my honest review of the Yealink T48S touchscreen IP phone. It's a pretty badass phone, you guys. Like, we've seen many people get this phone with Vonage, with Ring Central, with OnSIP. The list goes on and on and on. Again, as I already mentioned, even though Yealink has newer touchscreen IP phones that are the successor to this one, we still find that this one is a house favorite. And most importantly, most of the providers have the firmware, with their platform to be able to support this phone and provision it and support its features. If you are watching this video and you're interested in this phone, again, I've got links where you can purchase this phone below, below this video or in our blog. If you're watching this video and you're wondering which voice over IP service providers support this phone, that brings us to our final point. You guys know how we roll over here. We represent every single voice over IP service provider in the United States. Our consulting service is absolutely free. We are paid by the service providers. So if you'd like to chat with us, you have nothing to lose. Me and my team can pretty much find out what service provider supports this phone that best meets your features and needs and budget that you are looking for. And we can get you a quote with special pricing that will typically always be better than if you shop direct. So if you found this video helpful, please like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We upload new videos every single week. Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, your go-to guy for the best deals on business phone and internet service in the United States. I'll catch you guys again in the next video.